Noxus, iron does not smell like metal. It smells like lamp oil, forge smoke, whetstone, and the part of fear that disciplined men rename duty. At midnight, the fortress forgot its banners. No war cries, no marching cadence, no horns from the wall, only the breathing of old masonry and the small, stubborn flame of a candle fighting drafts it could not see. Darius sat alone at a stone table cut with old knife marks and newer campaign lines. One map lay open beneath his hand, one execution order lay beside it, and one gauntlet, blackened, heavy, still dark at the knuckles with someone else's blood, rested near the candle as if even metal needed time before judgment. The hand of Noxus removed his armor in the same order every night. Left shoulder, right shoulder, gorget, belt. Then not because it was hardest, because that was the hand that signed things men did not survive. He flexed bare fingers in the cold. On the paper before him, a name waited. Captain Varensorn. At dawn, the fortress expected blood. Darius had not decided whether dawn would get it. He heard her before he looked at her. Small steps. Careful steps, the steps of someone who knew that war chambers belonged to larger lives. Lysa entered carrying a shallow basin, a strip of oilcloth, and the stubborn look common to those who grew up among soldiers and learned early that no one would make room for them unless they held their ground. She could not have been more than 17. The burn marks across the back of her fingers were old enough to be ordinary. She stopped at the table, bowed once, and reached for the gauntlet only when he gave the smallest nod.
There's dried blood in the hinge again.
Then clean the hinge.
Yes, Commander.
She worked in silence for a while, scraping dark crust from the joint with a bone tool worn smooth by use. The room might have stayed silent if the order had not been there between them, like a third presence. She looked at it once, then away, then once more.
Will it be in the yard?
What?
The judgment.
Yes.
At sunrise?
That is what dawn is for.
She swallowed. Not fear, exactly. Not for herself. The fortress had a way of making every sentence feel shared.
They say he left the bridge before the horn.
They say many things after sunset.
And in the morning?
Darius looked at her then, not with anger, never wasted, with measurement.
In the morning, I prefer facts.
She lowered her eyes, but not fast enough to hide that she had one more question.
Speak it.
Do men know before you judge them?
Know what?
Which way your hand is going to fall?
Darius leaned back slightly. The candle made a red road across the table. The moon made the rest of the room a grave.
No.
Lisa nodded as though that answer confirmed something she had long suspected. Not that judgment was uncertain. That uncertainty was part of the punishment. After she left, the room became larger. Or perhaps memory entered it. There had been no candle in Basilich when Darius was young. Not on the nights that mattered. There had been gutter light through cracked boards, rain through the roof when storms turned mean, and a little brother sleeping too deeply because hunger made children mercifully easy to exhaust. Draven had always slept like the world owed him morning. Darius had slept like he had to drag morning in by the throat. There were gangs in Basilich, men with yellow teeth and thin tempers, boys old enough to hurt and young enough to think hurting made them large. Darius learned early that a closed hand could buy bread, or time, or silence, sometimes all three. He had not hated fear. He had respected it. Fear sharpened the ear. Fear shortened hesitation. Fear taught the body to move before the mind had found noble words for it. But fear lied too. It told weak men to call surrender wisdom. It told selfish men to call panic compassion. It told cowards to call themselves practical. That was why Darius trusted honesty more than bravery. Bravery failed. Honesty was hard. He looked again at the paper. Captain Varen Sorn, 29 years old, River Company, Dunmarch Bridge action. Orders broken under retreat conditions. Bridge abandoned ahead of signal. 38 bridge rights recovered alive. 19 wounded recovered alive. 12 a bridge lost. Useful hands saved. Blood, the kind of arithmetic soft men called impossible and leaders were paid to solve. The bridge at Dunmarch had not been beautiful. That was part of its value. Plain stone, functional span, good lines of sight, narrow enough to defend, broad enough to matter. The retreat order had been simple. Hold until the third horn. Pull the wounded if possible. Destroy the bridge if necessary. Do not let the enemy take it intact. Captain Varen Sorn received the order at dusk. By the second horn, he had already disobeyed it. He moved men off the east parapet, sent 2 files into the smoke below the riverbank, dragged out trapped bridge rights whose charge satchel had gone dead in the water, sent others for the wounded piled behind an overturned wagon, collapsed the western support with oil, hammer spikes, and a torch, bringing half the bridge down before the scheduled hour. The enemy did not get the bridge intact. But Noxus did not hold it long enough. A stone span was gone. Useful workers lived. 12 soldiers did not. To the fortress, the case seemed clean. A commander who abandons a position early dies. That was why men slept well beneath laws. They mistook clarity for justice. Darius went to the lower cells without escort. Not because he needed no guard. Because a man spoke differently when there was only one witness. Varen Sorn stood when the door opened. That alone saved him from Darius's contempt. He was younger than the report made him sound. River mud still marked the hem of his tunic. There was a bandage around his ribs. His lip had split and dried badly. He looked like a man who had not slept because sleep would have been an act of optimism.
Commander.
Sit.
I can stand.
That was not permission.
Varen sat. Darius remained stand. It changed the air immediately, not just because of height, because some men carried command the way others carried weather.
Tell me what happened.
You've read the report.
I did not ask what the report said.
The enemy flanked faster than expected. Fire spread under the western braces. The bridge rights were trapped below the parapet with wet charges. The wounded were piling at the wagon break. If I held the line exactly as ordered, I would have kept the bridge for perhaps another quarter bell.
And
then I would have lost the bridge rights, the wounded, and half the rear file with them.
But you did not hold.
Number.
Why?
Varen's jaw tightened.
Because the bridge was already dead.
Stone does not die.
No, but positions do.
For a moment, the cell held still around them. This was the dangerous part. Not defiance. Defiance, intelligence spoken by a condemned man, required more care.
Go on.
The order assumed time we no longer had. The riverbank was burning. The brace lines were split. The engineers below me were worth more than another quarter bell on a collapsing span.
Worth more for whom?
Varen answered too fast.
To Noxus.
Darius's face did not change.
Wrong.
Commander.
If you lie to me, I'll let Dawn do its easiest work. Try again.
Varen looked at the floor, then at the wall, then nowhere at all. When he spoke again, something proud had come loose.
Exhales worth more to me in that moment.
Darius waited.
Because I saw them. That's the truth of it. I saw the bridge right with half a beard and the broken nose. I saw one of the wounded trying to pull himself with one arm. I heard one of my own men shouting that the water was taking the satchel. I knew the bridge was done. I knew holding the parapet would make the report cleaner.
He lifted his eyes.
Exhales, and I knew I would hear them drowning the rest of my life.
Were you afraid?
Yes,
Of what?
of wasting them.
That is not what I asked.
Varen breathed once through his nose. It sounded almost like anger. Almost.
I was afraid the line would break while I was below it. Afraid I had misjudged the timing. Afraid the enemy would hit the bank before we lit the support. Afraid I would get everyone killed and leave nothing behind but a clever reason.
Darius stepped closer.
And yet you did it.
Yes,
Why?
because someone had to choose.
Darius studied him for a long time. There were many kinds of men in a cell. The begging kind, the righteous kind, the furious kind, the kind who wore innocence like a borrowed coat. Varen was none of them. He looked like a man who had made one unbearable choice and discovered too late that surviving it did not mean escaping it.
How many bridge rights?
38.
Wounded?
19.
Dead covering the withdrawal?
A pause.
12.
Do you know their names?
All of them.
Say them.
And Varen did. Not quickly, not like a recitation, like a burden lifted and set down one stone at a time. Darius listened without interrupt. When the 12th name was done, the cell felt smaller.
Good.
Good.
If you had forgotten even one, I'd have made this easier for myself.
He turned toward the door.
Commander,
Darius stopped.
I know what the Yard expects.
The yard does not concern me.
Then what does?
Darius half turned, enough for the cell light to catch the scar at his jaw.
What Noxus becomes when men like you are rewarded, and what it becomes when they are wasted.
Then he left. Back in the corridor, the stone carried old cold up through the soles of his boots. There had been a winter in Basilich when Draven was still small enough to curl under one arm and loud enough to complain, even asleep. Darius had found a loaf that winter. Not stolen. 3 older boys, 1 alley, 1 split lip, 1 brick. He remembered carrying the bread home in both hands as though anyone looking could smell triumph. Draven had torn into it laughing. Darius had eaten last. That was the thing soft men never understood about hunger. It did not make saints. It made accountants. You learned quickly what could be spent and what had to be kept alive. A roof leak could wait. A knife could not. Pride could be bruised. A brother could not. He climbed the last stair back to the war chamber and looked out through the slit window at the black line of the walls. Stone mattered. Of course it mattered. But stone did not march. Stone did not build the next bridge. Stone did not carry the wounded. Stone did not bleed today so an empire could reach farther tomorrow. Men did. Women did. Useful hands did. That was the heart of Noxus. If one stripped away the banners, the speeches, the gold, the fear, the pomp. Not noble blood, not old names. Usefulness. And the bridge at Dunmarch was valuable. The people pulled off it were more so. But disobedience had a cost. And if that cost vanished, command rotted. So the answer could not be softness. It had to be precision. Lisa found him where she had left him. Only now the candle was lower and the execution order had been moved half an inch to the left. There was a second blank page beside it. She placed the cleaned gauntlet carefully by his bare hand.
The hinge will hold now.
It held before.
Now it will hold longer.
He almost smiled. Almost.
Will you need the ceremonial blade in the yard?
No.
She hesitated.
Then it won't be that kind of morning.
You are learning dangerous habits.
From soldiers.
Darius dipped the pen in ink.
From soldiers, learn endurance. From officers, learn caution. From rumors, learn nothing.
He signed the first order with his right hand. Then he drew the second page closer and began another. Not for death, for labor, for reassignment, for the sort of punishment men underestimated because it lacked spectacle. He wrote until the candle guttered. Lysa stood silent the entire time. At last, she looked at the paper, then at him.
Commander, if he lives through it...
Then Noxus keeps what he proved worth keeping.
And if he doesn't?
Darius set the pen down.
Then my first instinct was only delayed.
Morning in a fortress was never gentle. It arrived on iron. The yard filled before sunrise, legionaries in ordered files, officers in red-trimmed plate, stable hands, quarter clerks, chirurgeons, smiths, cooks, wall archers pretending they had business near the condemned man was brought out without chains. That, too, told the yard what Darius thought of him. Not innocent, not trusted, but not vermin. Varen Sorn knelt at the center mark. Darius descended the stone steps above him in full armor, cloak moving once in the morning wind like a banner too disciplined to flap twice. The murmur in the yard died. He did not hurry. Power that hurried begged to be doubted. He stopped in front of Varen, looked at the kneeling officer, then past him, past all of them. When Darius spoke, he addressed the Legion.
Captain Varen Sorn broke a direct field order at Dunmarch Bridge.
The words hit the yard like hammer blows, clean, public, final.
He abandoned the eastern parapet before the ordered signal. He altered the withdrawal without permission. He chose his own timing over the command given him. For these acts, he is guilty.
No one moved, not even the horses. Darius took one more step.
He also recovered 38 bridge rights and 19 wounded under active pressure. He denied the enemy an intact crossing. He spent 12 lives to preserve 57 others, and the hands that will raise more roads, more walls, more bridges for Noxus.
A different kind of silence entered the yard now, heavier, less certain.
Some of you expected this morning to end with blood on stone.
He let the expectation sit there, naked, in daylight.
That would be simple. Simple is often mistaken for strong.
Varen lifted his head slightly. The Legion did not breathe.
Hear me well. Noxus does not reward disobedience. A commander who ignores orders because he enjoys his own judgment is a disease. A commander who lies about fear is already half dead.
He looked down at Varen.
But a commander who sees the field clearly, pays for his choice, remembers the names of the dead, and preserves what the Empire will need tomorrow, is not beyond use. Varen Sorn, you are stripped of rank. You will surrender your crest, your officer's seal, and your command cord before this assembly. For 6 months, you will serve under the bridge rights and chirurgeons recovered at Dunmarch. You will haul stone, drive stakes, boil instruments, carry the wounded. You will rebuild with your back what your judgment spent with your hand. After those 6 months, you will be assigned to the vanguard without rank and without banner. If you break, you will die nameless. If you endure, and if your judgment proves itself again under iron rather than argument, Noxus may yet have use for you.
The yard did not gasp. Noxians were too disciplined for that, But disbelief moved through them all the same. A tightening of jaws, a shift of weight, the tiny fracture sound made when expectation met something sharper than itself. Varen stared forward as if the sentence had taken longer to reach him than death would have. Then, slowly, he bowed his head.
I accept the judgment.
Darius's voice dropped half a degree. Only those nearest would hear the next line clearly, which was precisely why he said it that way.
See that the lives you saved are worth the lives you spent.
Varen removed the captain's crest from his cloak with unsteady hands. A lesser punishment would have humiliated him less. A softer nation would have killed him and called it order. But Noxus, on rare mornings, chose the more difficult mathematics. Darius turned back to the Legion.
Remember this. Stone can be rebuilt. Discipline can be reforged. Useful strength is not wasted lightly. But neither is it forgiven cheaply. Dismissed.
By mid-morning, the yard belonged to drills again. The fortress swallowed spectacle quickly. It always had another task waiting. In the chamber above, Darius set the pen aside and let the ink dry on the second copy of the order. Lisa entered only after knocking twice. She glanced at the table, then at him.
They're already talking.
Then they are working less than I pay them to.
Some say you spared him.
Darius reached for the gauntlet. This time, he put the right one on first.
Number.
He tightened the strap with his teeth and one hand.
I decided where his death would be most useful.
Lisa looked at him, trying to decide whether that was colder than mercy or closer to it. She failed. Most people did. That was why men feared him. Not because he loved blood, because he did not waste meaning. Outside, the fortress returned to its ordinary noises. Hammering, shouted counts, boots on stone, the life of an empire forever practicing how to become larger than the bodies that built it. Darius rose. The order was signed. The mourning had been measured. The axe remained where it was. And in Noxus, that was not kindness. It was simply another shape judgment could take.